Hi, everybody. I'm Audrey Moore with the Audrey Helps Actors podcast, and today we have episode number 91. Having some fun. 1 year of self-tapes with Christina Colgan. Over 1 year. 1 year and 1 month. Today we have the season finale with returning guest Christina Colgan, actress who has done 13 months of self-tape May in a row, adding up to 208 self-tapes. We discuss update. Did she move markets? Did she get an agent? Is she now a superstar? All will be revealed, including Self-Tape May Challenge. Woo! It's done. Woo! Congratulations! Shout out to the 19 people who have completed all 4 years of Self-Tape May. The 19 people are as follows: Haley O'Connor, Amber Stonebreaker, David Rosenblatt, Amber Wegner, Heather Harper, Leah Magdalene, Natalie Younger, Allie Kincaid, Catherine Taylor Arnold, Erin McShane, Kisha Allen Pert, Lynn Downey Braswell, Allison Grischow, Kathleen Suit, pronounced like a suit of clothes, Anne-Marie Connolly, Bridget Williamson, Jacqueline Chantel, Chris Brumley, Ian White, and I want to say Bridget Williamson, Brigitte Williamson, Brigitte Williamson. Those are the 19 people who have completed their 4th year in a row of Self-Tape May. Let's give them a round of applause. Yes, I am doing the clapping in a circle like a classic theater nerd. Yes, I am. Shout out to Tyler P _ Self-Tape May for being number 1 on the leaderboard this year. He is from the Southeast, and this is his 3rd year of Self-Tape May, and he was the first to finish 16 self-tapes this year. So congratulations, but that doesn't mean anything. It's not a race. Racing can be fun, but speed doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you finished all 16 tapes, in fact. All you'll hear in this episode, there is so much that you can learn from just one tape. Doing the work over time is how you get better. But there can be only one actual winner of the actual grand prize of Self-Tape May. And that prize is a 1-year subscription to We Audition, 1 year's worth of Castability tokens, and a 1-year subscription to Casting Network's premium membership, and you get to be on the podcast next season. And if you signed up on the website and let us know you finished at least 16 tapes, you were automatically entered in the drawing for this grand prize. This year, 496 people finished 16 tapes, and we chose one of those people at random. You can see the video on Instagram, and the winner is Kat Kim _ Self-Tapes. Congratulations, Kat Kim _ Self-Tapes. Kat Kim is an LA-based, New York City-bred actor, artist, yogi. Congratulations, Kat Kim. I'm so excited to have you on. You won all of that, and you're going to be on the podcast next season. Huzzah! Special shout out of thanks to our sponsors. Also, thanks to Wes for making the leaderboard. You guys, no one thanked Wes. Nobody liked the leaderboard? Is that what happened? He did it for free. And now he's like a review baby in a dark well. Go cheer him up and thank him for the leaderboard and tell him how cute those little pups are at WGELPI, at WGELPI. Link in the show notes. Do me a solid, you guys. Just do me like the greatest solid. Please just be like, hey, Wes, your puppies are adorable. Thanks for your help for Self-Tape May. Just please, 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 please. He did it for free, and he's such a good guy. Thank you all so much for participating in Self-Tape May this year. Please take care of yourselves until we see you again next year. I've got a whole self-care regimen I'm getting into because self-care. Let's do it. I'm happy to report that unlike Wes, the review baby is warm and comfy by the firelight of your reviews. It's been long and sometimes tragic season for the review baby, but they are doing well because of good people like Juliana FOLJ, Amberetto Sour, very cute, Amberetto, Frasier Fan, Rejune, Ethnically Ambiguous Mom, BDRBB8, Randy Zen Washington. Thank you for making the Review Babies finale comfy and cozy and far from that deep, dark well. But listen, listeners, Review Babies still needs some light between seasons. So take just one moment and go to ratethispodcast.com/Audrey. Just 1 minute will keep the Review Baby out of the well and also my self-esteem out of the darkness. So please go to ratethispodcast.com/Audrey for this Review Baby and this Review Baby's mama, which is me. I love my little Review Baby. ratethispodcast.com/Audrey. All right, everyone. I hope you're on your way to an audition or setting up a self-tape or going to a callback or having a Zoom call. Book it, book it, book it. Audrey helps actors because they don't know anything. Hi, everybody. I'm Audrey Moore with Audrey Helps Actors Podcast, and today we have...
Christina Colgan.
Whoop, whoop!
Hello.
We do. Hi.
Hi. It's so good to see you again.
I'm so glad to see you. You're in what country?
I'm in Hong Kong right now.
How's Hong Kong?
I haven't experienced it yet because I'm quarantining in a hotel.
Okay.
But I get to see a beautiful mountain out my window, and I'm so excited I get out of quarantine in 2 days, and I'm just eager.
Yay!
I'm eager.
Yeah. So what's happening in Hong Kong that you're there?
Oh, I need to renew my citizenship, so I need to go back every 3 years, and I get to visit my sister and my friends, so I'm going to eat all the food. I'm so excited. I can't wait.
I'm so excited for you. That sounds like the most magical life ever. So we have so many updates. This is going to be the last episode of the season. When it's the last episode of the season, it's a lot of new listeners, a lot of people who've not listened to the show before. So I just want to give the new listeners a little refresher for everyone. So Christina has completed 13 months in a row of what we call the Self-Tape May Challenge. So that's 16 self-tapes in the month of May. And she began her journey. Actually, she tried to do it in 2020.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Didn't complete them. And then you completed the challenge in 2021. Mm-hmm. And then you were like, fuck it, let's just keep going. So you did it from May 2021 all the way through to now. You've just completed your 16 tapes for May 2022, finishing out 208 tapes in 13 months of practice. And we already recorded an episode, so if you haven't listened to Christina's first episode, I really encourage you to go back, listen to that episode, and then come back and listen to this one because we talk a lot about updates. That sounds like a good recap, right?
Yeah, I love that recap.
So tell everybody, what are some takeaways? What are some updates? What are some things you have for people?
I mean, 200 plus self-tapes. It's truly changed my acting in like the best way possible, where I just feel really excited and I feel really free and I feel very comfortable in my setup. And it gave me like ways to explore. Like truly now, if I were to be given like a 5-10 page script and I had to memorize it in a day, I'd be like, okay, fine. Like it might be hard, but I can do it. And it just like really started to like build my muscles so that I can be stronger in all these different areas. And I started to like really explore. Like in this past month, I was like, okay, I feel like I've gotten the hang of doing 16 self-tapes. Let's add another challenge on top of it. And I started booking my friends for audition time slots. I would like book them for like 11 a.m. to 11:15. They would be my casting director and they can do whatever they want. They can tell me to like do one take and they'll be like, okay, thank you. That's all. Or they can be like, great, that was fun. Let's do it this way. Because I realized that I struggled with nerves a lot. I get really nervous and I'm really comfortable now in my at-home setup doing a self-tape. But in an in-person casting director workshop, I get so nervous. I forget all of my lines. I forget all of my prep. And I was like, oh, that's another thing that I need to start working on now. So yeah, I just think it's really fun. Like finding something that's challenging and then learning to overcome that mountain.
What you just described is the creative process. The creative process is problem. How do I solve the problem? So problem, I get nervous now in person. I don't have the sense of freedom in person that I had managed to grow in my at-home self-tape work. How do I find the solution? Because what you're just describing is the exact solution that I had created, where I was like, okay, I literally would work on my slides on Monday, and then Tuesday I would wake up and I would tell my husband, he was going to be my reader, and I would say, okay, I'm going to do one take, and if you feel like you want to give me another direction, give it to me. But I told him, I was like, do random stuff, because sometimes they're like, Audrey, that was great. What's your favorite movie? And I would be like, The Princess Bride. They were like, great, why don't you do this again, but like your favorite character in The Princess Bride? And I would be like, what are you talking about? And then I would have to do that. And I would always come out feeling like somebody smacked me in the face suddenly. And a lot of people are experiencing Zoom callbacks or, again, in person, like chemistry reads or producer sessions, going in the room again. And they are like, oh my God, I have no idea what that even is. Like, that's so confusing. And so I love that you created already for yourself an experience so that you could recreate the thing that is the problem, so you could figure out how to get comfortable and digest that in your nervous system.
Yeah, and that's really hard. I don't know how to overcome these nerves. I'm like trying all sorts of things.
You're going to overcome them just through practice.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know, when I was in my career where you are, really beginning my self-tape practice and really trying to work out the kinks, and I got like my first couple of jobs, like my first co-stars, I literally had like my 2 lines written on a slit of paper, and I had them under my prop. And then I would like sit there with this slit of paper, and I would like, and I would just then like slide it under the prop, and then I would take it out and I'd be like, and I'd put it under the prop. And, you know, I've been acting since I was 7. I did conservatory in London. I opened up theater companies in New York City. You know, this is not like Audrey's never acted before. Acting is like all these different games. And in this particular game of like landing on set and being freaked the fuck out because I hadn't done this particular game before, I felt just so freaked out, like just so freaked out. And then I was very lucky in that almost all of my co-stars went recurring, and I came back to the show and I was so much more relaxed the second time. I was like, oh, okay, I'm not horrible. Like, whoo, I'm here, and like, here we are again. This is great. And now I go to set and I talk to the director, I talk to the showrunner. I like go to set and look at what my set looks like. I go and I sit in it and I find creative opportunities, you know, in terms of camera, in terms of point of view, in terms of props. I go and I have a conversation with the props department. I'm very involved in what I want my hair and makeup and wardrobe to do in terms of like bringing the character to life. I ask for what I need. I talk to the ADs and I go up to the director and I say, whose side are you shooting first? Are you shooting my side, or are you shooting the star first? You know, like I have an understanding and I feel so comfortable. It feels like not just their set that I'm coming on, but it feels like our set. It feels like here we are for however long I'm part of this journey with you all. So I only say that for you to know, like, it gets better. And everything you're experiencing is completely right. And you'll take care of the nerves from experience. I'm not worried about you at all. You're going to get there. I'm excited about it.
It's funny because, you know, I remember starting to listen to your podcast like 2 years ago, and you would talk about all of these things and I'd be like, I don't understand that. What does that mean? Especially this one episode. I mean, you've shared this a lot where you're like, Jesse can be like, what page number is it? Oh, I know exactly what part of the story this is. And I was like, what does that mean? And now I'm like, oh, I get it now after like reading different writing books, after like studying scripts myself. I'm like, oh, cool. Like I'm on the other side of knowing that now. And so it's fun. I mean, it's like a scary fun to be like, okay, I don't understand that yet. But like one day I'll be across that bridge and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm here. I get it now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. I love that. Okay, so now tell me, in terms of like the assignments I gave you, the progress you've made, all of that sort of stuff.
I got to tell you, when you asked me to come back on, I was praying like, oh Lord, please let me book something so that I can share that that some sort of work came out of my year of self-tape so that I can have like this really exciting story of like, yeah, I did a year of self-tape May. And then out of that year, now I'm a series regular on this show and I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And you know what, guys? I don't know if anyone's noticed, but that did not happen. So I was feeling a lot of feelings coming back on the show because I was feeling a little embarrassed. I was like, well, what can I share? But I was just speaking to my friend and she was really, really encouraging. All of my friends have been so encouraging. They've just been like, great. Maybe on paper, it doesn't look like very much has changed, but my acting journey has completely changed. I mean, I watched Muted because I like almost couldn't bear it. Some of the first tapes that I did like a year ago or 2 years ago. And my acting has changed so much. My creativity, my freedom has changed so much in what I do. And I'm really proud of that. I gotta say, I was really nervous. I felt like I worked really hard last year. And it's really discouraging to feel like nothing really came out of it in terms of
like a tangible credit.
Yeah.
It's wonderful that you're talking about this because I'd like to talk about incremental success with you because I know of a lot of the incremental success that you've actually done. First thing I want to share with you is, the impetus for Self-Tape May is a copying of my own journey that I had when I quit waiting tables and I was like, okay, well, I guess I better do acting with the time that I would be spending waiting tables. And I started doing self-tapes 4 times a week, and I did it for 2 years. So Monday through Thursday, and then I would tape one take Tuesday through Friday. And the one take had a lot to do with me being in the room. At that time, we were in the room for auditions, and the one take really fucked me up as a concept. It took like one take for me to not feel like I'm in a firing squad, much less to like actually have my creativity and expression come out. And so the one take really fucked me up. So I was working on that. And I began that journey in August 2014. And in July 2016, I booked a series.
Wow.
So it took about 2 years. It took about that time. And also at the time in which I talked to Haley, she had the same thing. She was like, I just feel like I'm auditioning more and things like that have gone up, but I don't have like Audrey and I'm booking. And just from the time we recorded that until her episode aired, like things started cracking for her and she booked 4 theatrical jobs in the meantime. Yeah, it was fantastic. Are you in LA? Are you in the East Coast? Where have you landed with your fabulous husband?
Well, I booked a one-way ticket to California in February. And I was just like, I'm just going to stay here until I feel like I'm going to leave. Because I was having a really hard time by the end of 2021. This industry and acting can be very taxing on you emotionally. And it is really hard, especially in a pandemic where you're not booking anything. It's easy to be like, I'm not doing anything right. Like, what's wrong with me? So I was very, very, very depressed towards the end of the year, early 2022. I mean, truly, I was having breakdowns like every day. At least once a day. I'm just like, what am I doing? Like, am I doing everything wrong? And then I went to California and it was nice to just like change the environment, especially because you had told me to go there. So I was really like, is this where I should be? And it was very fun because the week after I got to California, the episode that I was on came out. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I get to like listen to it here. And it just felt really right there. I mean, I'm originally from California, so I'm like very familiar with Los Angeles, but I was like, wow, I feel like this is where I want to be. So I ended up spending 6 weeks there, and then I went back because all my stuff was still in New York. And I did some traveling. I mean, right now I'm in Hong Kong, but like we're going to be there. I mean, I really can't tell you when we're going to like officially move there, but that is definitely like in the works of what we're doing. It's scary, but it is really exciting. And I love it. California is amazing.
I love that. And I had also told you to go ahead and meet with a couple of people. I think I gave you some coaches to talk to. I gave you a manager to contact, I believe, a casting director to contact, and just have them tell you like kind of what they thought in terms of what you are bringing into the table. Because again, data. Like I really don't believe that one person should talk to you and be like, you know what, Christina, off to LA you go. And then let's like change our entire life, our husband's life, rip everyone away from their family because you went on a podcast once in 2022 and Audrey told you to go to LA. I feel like let's investigate that further. So I told you to not just take my word for it, but also contact everyone. And so I really want to say to everyone, I think that's really important. If you're looking at a couple of market options, like we talk about market. Your first episode is about market. So it's like location, number one in business. Where are you going to put your business? And if somebody has said to you, you know, you should move to la city, do me a favor. Before you move to a city and totally upend your life, do a little research. Go to the city, ask maybe a couple of other qualified. This is important. Don't like ask your parents. Don't like ask your acting teacher who's never been outside of that city that you're currently living in. But like people who are maybe in that market, do some research. So how was it talking to other people in terms of feedback of you and Marketplace?
So I ended up speaking to 2 out of the 3 people that you suggested. And it's funny because just like across the board, they said very different things about like what I should do in my career. Just to your point of like, you really can't just take what one person said and run with it. Even though that's kind of what I did when you told me to move to California. I was like, oh, Audrey said it. Okay, let's go.
You have somebody you trust most.
But they both told me that I didn't need to move to California yet. And I got in touch with them in November of last year. And this gave me a lot of peace about it too. They were like, yeah, I think that you should end up there, but like you can take your time, especially in the age of self-tape auditions and the pandemic. Like, I mean, a lot of people are all over the place, but they can still submit for a certain role as long as they can get there for the in-person callback or the actual taping. And so I was like, oh, that like gave me a lot of peace about it as well. But it was really interesting because even after they had been like, oh no, like you can stay in New York, I'm sure it's fine, I still like felt California on my heart, which is why I ended up going. I've been just kind of like at peace with it all of just like, it's going to happen when it happens. I don't really want to be in California without my husband because we did like a month long distance when I was in California and he was back in New York. And I was like, you know what? I really value my career, but I value my marriage and my family over it. So I will stay in New York if that means like being with my family. But it was nice because I do know that I have the option of sending in self-tapes. I do know I have the option of like going and staying with my parents if I wanted to go back to California. Our trajectory is towards California, but we don't know when yet. And honestly, a year ago, that would have been like freaking me out. Like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm just like, it'll happen in its time. Yeah. There's so much in this industry that you can't control. So learning to just like let it go has been really helpful for me.
I love that. I mean, I love so many things of what you just said because I think it's really important. First of all, is really looking at like a full life scope. And I always talk about on this podcast, understanding what you value and having like a rank of what you value. And so for me, Audrey, I value my self-care first, Audrey's wellness first, because I love being like the light in the room. And if I am grumpy, everyone loses. everyone loses. I lose, my friends lose, the industry loses, my marriage loses, everyone loses. So self-care first. And the good news is I don't require a lot of self-care. I just require just like a smidge. The next thing for me, I'm exactly in alignment with you, is my marriage. I love my husband. We have a beautiful marriage, and all the success in the acting is fantastic. But if in doing so, I lose my marriage, for me personally, it feels like, what are we even doing here? Like the journey along with him is the satisfying, exciting thing that I want to grow and build, not a journey despite him. So that then allows me to make sure that the choices I'm making are keeping that intact, are inclusive of that journey. And then the next thing that you said is like also taking your time and letting it go and following your intuition. Because I do believe it's part information, part intuition. Because the industry is full of so many no's. And because of that, if you are living a life, whether that's the location or the relationships or romantic relationships or whatever it is, where you hate it, but you're doing it for your acting career, I think that's like putting an anvil on your progress. It's just going to slow you down and make the whole thing so much more exhausting. So I love the clarity and the taking the time to explore, again, the creative process of it all. What is the creative process of creating my career? And just like in an actor in a scene, you wouldn't just make a choice, do the line this way, and that's the choice that you've made, and so it's there, and now you're going to do it. You would be like, okay, I had an idea. I think I'm going to maybe do the end of the scene like this. And then you explore that. And then if it doesn't work, yeah, try something else. But the creative process is not, I think in the scene, I'm going to wear a really tight tuxedo that I can't quite move in because I feel like being restricted sounds really great for this character. And then you're going to get a custom tailor-made tuxedo made to be too tight on you. And then you try it as a character, but you've already invested in it and you're going to try it. But it actually is like so completely wrong for the character, but you committed. And so now you're there. So I love the idea that you got some information. You also followed your intuition, and then you went about and explored all of it. And then you're taking in your total life picture with regard to that choice.
Yeah.
And I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it took some time to get here. I was miserable in the end of 2021, early 2022. And I was doing all the things, like objectively, I was doing all of the same things. I was doing my acting practice. I was taking my classes. I was doing auditions. I was doing all the same things, but I was so miserable. And I think a part of it was like results oriented. I would do the auditions and I would think I would do an amazing job and then I wouldn't hear back. And that would just be really crushing for me. And it's not to say that it's not still crushing when you think you did an amazing job, but I was just so sad, like all the time. And I was like, this just isn't sustainable. Why am I doing this? I thought I loved acting and I do love acting, but the pursuit of this industry was making me so sad because of all the things that this industry is, that is not fun. A lot of the things in this industry is just not fun. And I just had a moment where I was like, if I really want to continue pursuing this, which I do, I have to like change my attitude and my like perspective on it. And that has just been like, I can do all of the work, but I don't have control over the booking. And so if I don't have control over that, then that's not going to affect how I feel. And it's really hard. And it took a lot of time, but I just feel just so much better, even though my circumstances haven't changed.
Well, they have, but we're going to talk a little bit about that. And what you're also talking to me about too is with some work I did with my therapist. We really we got in deep and we talked about a relationship with your career that is nourishing, not depleting. And I was like, well, that sounds amazing. And my therapist was like, yeah, doesn't that sound great? And I was like, I think that's kind of like revolutionary. And she was like, why is that? And I said, well, just the whole industry is like a gold rush all the time. It's like once a project gets a green light, then the moment it gets a green light and gets funding, the package of cash that goes along with that green light then starts this gold rush all the way down the chain. And that's from the writing staff, the directors that are going to direct the episode, the crew, the camera ops, the hair and makeup, wardrobe, the lighting people, everybody's agents, the main cast, the supporting cast, the day players. It's just like a feeding frenzy. It's literally like if somebody was like, I went into this tunnel over there and I found gold. And everyone's like, gold? And then like everyone's like, la! Everyone's like trampling on top of each other. And at the end of the day, you can whittle away and whittle away and whittle away and whittle away. And the guy next to you finds gold and you don't. Mm. And that's very hard. It's very hard to continue the process of releasing that expectation that you deserve the gold, that you're entitled to the gold, that you've done all the things so the gold should show up. Because in doing the proper work, you're setting things in your favor. But if it's still a slot machine, it's still a slot machine. And you can't solve the slot machine.
To add on to that, like you could have been digging longer or harder or been like prepping your muscles to dig. Mm-hmm. And that person could have showed up and in 1 minute they could have found the gold. And it's hard to just be like, wait, I did all this work. And I really love that analogy. Yeah, it's tough.
Well, then it really gets into, why are you mining for gold? Do you enjoy mining for gold? Do you enjoy the creative process of mining for gold? And then what is your expectation on being able to make a living out of it? And what is your interest in making a living out of it? And that's a very specific thing that people have to have a conversation with themselves about it. Because what I love so much about acting and what is so true about acting is the opportunity for mastery is unending. You can master self-tapes. You can do 208 self-tapes in a year, and you can master that and feel really comfortable about that. But then you are going to go in person to an in-person callback, a producer session. And then it's a different game. And then you are going to get onto sets. And you're going to get onto sets as a co-star. And then you're going to get onto sets as a guest star. And then you're going to get onto sets as a series regular. And then you're going to get onto sets where everyone is awesome and everyone's so cool and everyone's so happy. And then you're going to get onto sets where everyone is upset. Everyone feels like they're getting fucked. Everyone's grumpy. Everyone's shitty. Like, it's all different kinds of games. Your multicam half-hour live taping set versus your 1 hour gritty drama shooting in the desert versus your network television show shooting in the heart of downtown Los Angeles. They're all different games that all require a little bit of experience, a sense of nimbleness. I remember getting to this place in my career where I was literally like, I have not done this before. I'm going to let go of the expectation that I know what I'm doing. I'm going to prep as much as I can, but like, I've not been a recurring guest on a kid's multicam show. I have no idea what that's like. I'm going to call some people. I'm going to ask around. I'm going to see about this creative. I'm going to see about this director, but like, I might get fired. I don't know. I'm going to do literally the best I can do on something I've never done before.
The pursuit of the mastery of your craft is unending. Oh, I love that. That just makes me really excited. I do too.
That's so fun, right?
Yeah.
But wait, Christina, you multilingual little badass. Wait. I have to interrupt you.
Help me. I need some help.
And now it's time for listener questions.
I'm so scared.
This listener question is brought to you by Home Chef. Go to audreyhelpsactors.com/Home Chef. Do you want a free meal? Are you like, Audrey, this inflation on food, I'm not feeling it. I hate the rise in food costs. You know what I would really love, Audrey, is some free food. Well, do I have the answer for you? Home Chef is something that Jesse and I use. We use it all week, every week. They have these meal kits, you guys. I'm going to talk to you about the ready-made meal kits. They're so delicious. They're so easy. They are even, sorry, honey, but they are Jessie-proof, I have to say. They are Jessie-proof. They are so good because, sometimes you're tired and you got to make food and you'd really just rather not. And I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes making food to go inside your body, it's hard. And I have been so grateful to be able to get Home Chef and pop that in the air fryer, 10 minutes, call it food that's so good, so easy. More than anything, just go get free food. Do me a solid and get yourself free food. AudreyHelpsActors.com/HomeChef for $35 off, which is, I think, is 4 meals. Don't you want 4 free meals? AudreyHelpsActors.com/HomeChef for some free food. If you have a listener question, please call 667-ACTOR-70. That's 667-ACTOR-70.
Hey, Audrey. I want to thank you for your podcast. It's really the guiding light in a sea of mostly shit. I've spent years in conservatory, and I've been lucky to make incredible connections and friendships with some really big players in the business. I recently decided to enter the build-out phase of my career, and I signed with my first agent at a boutique, and I was excited about it. However, they want to keep me non-union for a while, whatever that means. And I know from listening to your show that I need to get myself union as soon as possible. So I've sort of taken matters in my own hands and self-submitted and reached out to kind of some of my big league friends, and now I have a meeting pending with the casting director at a major studio, which I'm so excited about. My question is, how do I prepare for this meeting? I only have a handful of non-union films and a couple plays on my resume. My headshots are great. I have a solid reel. It could always be better, but I don't know if my representation or my resume speaks to how seriously I take myself or the craft or where I see myself going. I always pictured a situation where my agent would be backing me 100% and that my materials would be at a level of excellence before I took these meetings. I also wonder how much of this even matters. It's sort of my worst fear to fuck up a favor too soon, but I do feel ready in my own work. So anyways, how can I prepare? Thank you so much again, Audrey, for creating this podcast. I can't even begin to explain how much it's helped me. You're the best. Thanks so much. My name's Patrick.
Hi, Patrick. I love this question. We haven't really discussed on here what a general meeting with the casting director is like and what to expect and how to prepare. So when I'm preparing for an interview with a casting director for the podcast, I definitely watch things that they have done. I listen to all of their past interviews and I read any articles that they may have done online. And I am very informed on what projects they have coming up. If you can get a hold of their script, that's great. And again, not even to just sell yourself, not to be what role I would be so great for on this pilot you're casting right now, but really to say congratulations on this pilot. It's such a great script. I actually read it over the weekend. It's really great. And they know what the story is. They know that you're there to hopefully get seen for something. What casting directors are really doing in generals is getting a sense of who you are. Really good casting directors, they get your authentic self pretty fast and they know what you're ready for and they know where to place you in terms of what kinds of auditions you would be really outstanding for. So I wouldn't worry too hard about trying to show them what a great actor you are. I think it's better to genuinely interested in what they are creatively involved in and have creatively achieved in the past. They are such unsung heroes of this industry. So the more that you can honor that through your own research, I think the better. In terms of how to look and all of that, I would say, everyone's looking for authenticity. So it's so interesting. If you are a person who loves to wear like cutout jeans and like a sparkly velvet crop top and paint your nails, so often then actors will go into a general in like their slacks and a button-down shirt with a tie. And I would say, resist! Don't do that. Be yourself, and they will see where to put you. And congrats, a general meeting is a huge win.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
I want to talk about also the castability data.
Yeah, I was saying in the podcast that I really love comedy. I mean, I grew up on Friends. Like, that is the dearest show in my heart. And I was like, gosh, like, what a dream. And after I went on the show, I took a comedy intensive class and I started doing castability. And I got my data back. And I ranked lowest in comedy. And I was like, wait a second, guys. I thought I was like, hold on.
Okay, so everyone listening, what she did with a lot of these self-tapes that she did is she used Castability, which is a platform that already has scenes written for you, which makes it so much easier. And then you decided to involve yourself in the competition. So they do like a competition where everyone who gets the sides submits their version, and then casting directors watch 5 of them, and then they rank them 1 through 5. And then whoever is number 5 then goes to the next batch, wherein those casting directors rank them 1 through 5. And then whoever gets 5 goes into the next batch until finally you have like a top 5, and of that 5, you have like a number 1. And they mine a lot of data. So we love data here at Audrey Helps Actors Podcast because it's illuminating, and the more data you get, the better it is. So a lot of actors have these experiences where they'll try maybe a new headshot, and they have the headshot up for a few casting director workshops, and then one casting director tells them that they don't like the headshot. And I'm like, okay, well, how many casting director workshops did you do? And they say 3. I'm like, okay, so if out of 3, one of them didn't like the headshot, is that to you viable data? Or is that one person has a particular taste wherein they didn't like that headshot? So 20 tapes submitted is, I would say, a really fantastic chunk of data. So of these 20 tapes, they gave you some data back. And what does this data look like?
What I loved about it is you have this idea of who you are as an actor or even as a person. And you think that like that's going to bleed into your acting. And it's funny because I don't really consider myself a very serious person. So I never thought that I was good for drama. I was just like, oh, like I can't take myself seriously if I'm not smiling. Like it feels weird. And I ranked the highest in drama. And you know what? It's funny because it just gave me so much confidence in myself that I'm okay. I don't need to worry about it. I felt like I could just trust myself a little bit more. And that like gave me confidence in approaching different auditions, that I don't need to do as much, that I don't need to like really push anything because it's already there. And it gave me a place to go because I think especially like in this career, you get so confused because you try all these different things and then they don't work. So then you try something else and then that doesn't work. And you're just kind of blindly going in different directions, like hoping that you'll get somewhere. And so what I loved about the data is it told me what I thrive in, at least in terms of what I submitted.
And also like at that time, where you are in acting at that time. Like if you had done those 20 tapes in the beginning of 2021, that would have been different data.
Oh, yeah.
Versus the data you're doing now.
Oh, for sure. I've started watching a lot more sitcoms and comedies and kind of taking notes specifically on like the technicals because it's so technical in comedy. And just seeing like the stakes that they have and seeing like how they raise them. It's been really, really interesting to see that and then trying to apply that to my work. But I gotta say, I think the thing that I learned the most out of Castability is to just like have fun. I think for so long I was like, okay, I have to do this right. I have to make sure that I hit this. I need to do this. I need to do this. I was so obsessed with everything that I felt like I could control in terms of like technicals, lighting, setup. I was like very obsessed with that. And I was like, oh, making sure that I have this particular blue background is really, really important. And I'm not saying that it's not important to have a blank background, but I'm saying that I was so fixated on all of those other things that I think I just forgot to have fun a little bit. And I've more recently just tried to like, shake it all off and like learn to let go. And I'm having more fun. And that can like bleed through into my tape. And it's gotten me to a point where I'm like, oh, I didn't book it. I had so much fun. It's like, take it or leave it. You're not going to book everything. And you know what? I've made so many friends through Audrey Helps Actors, Castability, through my self-tape account. It's been a cheery time, I gotta say. It's been a cheery time.
To me, also, when I think about any art form, getting through the technical so you can enjoy the process is a big part of it. Like in the beginning, like learning how to paint is hard because you don't know how to make the colors do the things you need them to do. And then you get good at painting, and then painting is fun because then your expressive self can come out. If you are a musician, playing the piano technically feels weird, and learning how to have your fingers do the things your fingers need to do the way you need them to do them, so that then you can like have some expression of you in the song, some freedom of you in the song, like what you're talking about, even in a rehearsal process. In the beginning, you're like worried about the lines. You have to figure out how you're going to like enter the frame. You're going to figure out what you're going to wear. And that is sort of like the technical stuff. And then once you figure out the technical stuff, then you have fun and you can really find the freedom to express what you want to express through the material.
And that's honestly my main takeaway from this year of 16 self-tapes, because I just like really love that analogy. And I just feel like you have to learn and understand the rules before you can break or bend them in your acting, if that makes sense. Like, you see a lot of self-tapes that go viral or something, and they like break all of the typical rules of what we should do in a self-tape. And then everybody is like, oh, he played music in his self-tape. Guess that means I'm doing that. And I feel like when you understand the rules, that's when you can understand like why they're there and what you can do creatively, like in your own ideas. Like this self-tape challenge of doing it.
And didn't you start doing really well?
It's funny because I feel like I did, and then I didn't, and then I did, and then I didn't.
Oh my God, just like an acting career?
Yeah.
You mean just like an acting career?
It was a really fun realization because, you go like, yo, I just won like a self-tape challenge.
And how many did it take you till you won a self-tape challenge?
Oh gosh, at least halfway. So if I did 20, at least 10.
Okay, great. So you did 10 before you won one.
At least.
And then what happened? How many more did you do before you did like another little win?
Like a couple more.
Okay.
So definitely the gap significantly decreased, which was very exciting. But it's funny because in between that, some of my scores were like the lowest I had ever seen. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting.
Pause. Are you telling me this art form is subjective?
Well, I think so.
Are you telling me A, this art form is subjective, and B, some roles are naturally going to be better for you than others?
I mean, I think that's what we're gathering here. I mean, I was reminded of like in Haley's episode that you just did, she was saying that she got more auditions from her first year. And then she started to get less quantity, but booking more. And it was a good reminder that like, yeah, you can start to get more specific because you know what roles you thrive in. Not to say that you can't try other things, but it's very educating.
I love this because here's how I heard this story from the people over at Castability is that you started working away and then you started getting momentum. And so I want to talk about what momentum looks like. Momentum doesn't look like I win and then I just like win, 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 win. I'm in winning, winning, winning. Momentum looks like 10 no's, 1 yes. 8 no's, 1 yes. 8 no's, 1 yes. 6 no's, 1 yes. 10 no's, 3 yeses. Do you see what I'm saying?
For sure.
I want you to think of it like a spiral. The outside of the spiral is very big, and as it gets closer and closer to the center, it gets faster and it gets smaller. And so that's what momentum is. Think of it like a drill. And the point of the drill is just a smaller point. And when you understand what you thrive in and what people love you in and you enjoy more, that point is sharper and cuts through and impinges more. In order to get that information, normally you would have to get to a place where you get that many auditions.
Yeah.
That can take a decade to get just the clarity of that. And you got that clarity after 1 year of practicing your self-tapes.
Yeah.
Which I think is really awesome. Didn't you also sign with an agent?
I did. I actually...
Oh my God. She's like, Audrey, I have nothing to report. And I'm like, didn't you win some castability challenges? And she was like, yes. And I'm like, didn't you sign with an agent? And she was like, yes. Didn't you go across the country? Yes. Tell me about going to an agent.
So yeah, the fight to get an agent was so exhausting. That was probably the thing that destroyed me the most emotionally towards the end of last year, early this year, because it's very, very exhausting. Constantly reaching out to people, doing different workshops, meeting agents and managers, and then feeling like you did a really good job and feeling like you really connected, and then being like, hey, just follow it up, and then not hearing back. It can be very exhausting. So I went to California. The week after I got there, the episode came out. And then that same week, I signed with an agent. That was a very exciting week for me. It was a very hard and long uphill battle to get this representation. It's been very slow. I think the industry, I've heard rumors, is very slow right now. So that can also be discouraging, because you get this exciting momentum and then it's like, okay, now things are going to change. And they don't. So it's hard to not get discouraged by that, but it's what the industry is.
I just want everyone to think of change more like losing or gaining weight. It's incremental change. And you can't see it from where you're sitting, but you will in 10 years. I know that everyone sees everyone on Euphoria and is like, sign me up. I want to be random person in a random USA, and I want this director to pluck me out of obscurity and put me onto Euphoria. And then I want to be Hell's Bells famous. And I want my Instagram to be super flush, and I want my bank account to be super flush. And I just want to be suddenly really fabulous and important. And I always say, how many people on pretty much every show with people playing teenagers, how many people are still working versus how many people are dead or in jail?
Yikes. Oh.
Not a great statistic. And even if you get plucked out of obscurity and into the thing that you think you want, the thing that's going to solve you, if you just look at the numbers, that's mostly unsustained. And then being thrown into it and then thrown out of it is so devastating. It fucks people up for a really long time. Similarly to gaining or losing weight immediately. It can really fuck you up. And so this thing that I'm going to do this thing and things are going to change. The thing that's hard about incremental progress and mastery is that it doesn't look like, and then I woke up and I lost 50 pounds. It looks like the first 10 pounds that you lose are really exciting. And you're like, yeah, motivated. And I did it. And then you lost 10 pounds. You're like, I lost 10 pounds. And then pound 10 through pound 30 are just kind of a drag. It's a drag. And then you get to pound 30 and you're like, I've lost 30 pounds. I'm awesome. This is exciting. Blah, blah, blah. Look at me go. And then you get to now you're down 40 pounds and it mostly feels like a win. But that last 10 pounds is always the hardest one for everybody. And so I remember my teacher for such a long time used to say, you have to celebrate your wins big and small, because getting the agent is not going to be the change in your career. It can bring some change, but again, it's incremental. My manager truly did change my life, but not in the first year. I mean, I was with her for the first year and she got me tons of auditions. I didn't book one of them in the first year. But gathered this amazing data that you've been able to manage without that. And I figured it out and I got better. And then I got some bookings and I figured it out and I got better. And us together as a team, truly as a team, there's just not a lot we can't accomplish together. But it didn't happen immediately. In fact, I met with her first and it took her 2 years for her to actually be able to sign me, because she tried to sign me and then they said no. And then another 2 years later came by and then they signed me. And then it took another year or two after that for us to really get momentum. Okay?
Yeah. I wish I heard that story when I first signed with them, because I remember being yeah, this is really exciting, but I was so cautious. I was very guarded. I was oh, I don't want to get too excited about this because it's probably not going to change anything. And I was kind of right. Nothing really changed. But I remember listening to this podcast with one broke actress, and the guest that was on the show was talking about how she booked this really big role. And when she first booked it during COVID. And she didn't allow herself to be excited because she was oh, I don't know if they're going to end up going through with production. So then she didn't get excited about it. Then when she got on set, she was oh, but they might cut me out. So I probably don't want to get excited about it. And then she went through multiple phases of just telling herself to not allow herself to be excited. And then the show ended up coming out and she was in so many scenes. And she just talked about how she wished she let herself feel those feelings, even if she did get cut out, or even if it did get cut, or that it didn't end up going through. And I was man, where was all this when I wasn't allowing myself to be excited? But yeah, it was a really good reminder.
Enthusiasm high, expectations low.
Ooh.
So you can have enthusiasm about the fact that you've signed with an agent. You can have expectations that they're going to change your life overnight. You can be excited that you broke through a barrier that's taking you a long time to get through. And yet you can not have the expectation that that barrier is going to change your life this week. You can be excited that you booked a job without having the expectation that anything's going to come from it. You can be excited that the job gets a green light and you get to be on set all week and enjoy the whole time without the expectation that you're still going to be in it. You can be excited that you were in the whole thing and that you made the cut and all of that happened without the expectation that now that's going to open every single door for you.
Yeah.
I think that might be what they call being present in the moment, enjoying life.
Man, gosh.
But wait, Christina. You multilingual little badass. Wait, I have to interrupt you.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you shit you didn't know about your union.
This shit you don't know about your union is brought to you by Jeff Pride at Self Tapes Here on Instagram. That's Jeff Pride at Self Tapes Here on Instagram. Jeff Pride, I have to tell you, every single time anybody records with Jeff Pride, anytime anyone goes and works with him, I swear to you, I get messages from people who are like, Audrey, that was amazing. I had the most fun. I booked the job. I got a producer session. I felt so comfortable. I felt so taken care of. And here's what I want you to know. Jeff Pride has been a session runner for years, and he is such an incredible and talented actor, and he is so caring, and he is so good at what he does. I worked with him recently. I was blown away by how fantastic he is. So Jeff Pride at Self Tapes here on Instagram. So for this shit you don't know about your union, I have my dear friends, Katie Von Till and Mike Nelson, who are amazing booking actors involved in the union, and they are going to tell you just a little bit about our landscape right now and some shit you don't know about your union. They are two of my most favorite people, so enjoy.
Oh, hey, Mike.
Hey, Katie.
So look, I have this problem. I'm wondering if you can help me out. It's my mom's birthday, and I want to send her flowers, but some of these flower delivery services are so expensive.
Tell me about it. I have a mother as well.
Hey!
Wait, but you're a SAG-AFTRA member. You're a union member, right?
Uh-huh.
So you actually can get a discount on some of that stuff.
Wait a second. Seriously? On flower delivery?
Yes, on flower delivery and a bunch of other stuff. Because you're a SAG-AFTRA member, you have access to a huge variety of deals and discounts.
Well, now you're singing my tune. I love saving money. What else?
Okay, for example, you can get a discount on your AT&T bill.
Stop it.
Yeah. Or rental cars from companies like Hertz and Thrifty when you're traveling.
What?
Oh, and this is for you. This is nuts. Even discounts on pet insurance.
What?
Yeah.
I actually have 2 cats, so that would be super helpful.
Yeah, and save you a ton of money. If you have a pet, you know. So, yeah, SAG-AFTRA members get special discounts on Actors Access Plus and Backstage, a bunch of actory stuff, just to name a few.
Well, this is great. Because, I mean, you know, living in a city like Los Angeles is super expensive. So every little bit of money I can save really helps.
Yep, and your union gives us a whole lot in terms of, your safety on set and wages and working conditions. We talk about that all the time, but these discounts are pretty sweet as well.
I had no idea.
Yep.
And I love getting a good deal.
I know you do. So yeah, check out our deals and discounts page on sagaftra.org. That's sagaftra.org. And you can sort by category or even your location.
One step ahead of you, Mike. I'm on SAG-AFTRA's website as we speak.
Happy hunting, Katie.
Thanks.
Your cats are going to love you.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Okay, so I have so much good news for you. I want to just recap all of the things that I think have been amazing in terms of what I see for you. A, your maturity in the process continues to grow. And I remember when I talked to you last time, I was like, what's to me so valuable about you and why I would sign you is because you're not just a person who's coming with enthusiasm, but you're also coming with a sense of problem solving and some grit to work that out and to do that. And I think that is so awesome because most people are either all like in their heads to solve a problem or they're all enthusiasm and aren't really actually solving anything. They're just staying delusional. But like great creativity and the great creative process, no matter what it is, whether it's art or science or anything, is being excited about the problem and then being excited to find a way to solve it and then solving it. It's like closing the gap between problem and solution. And I think you're doing that and you are seeing results. To me, not just the results of getting an agent and checking out Los Angeles. I mean, these casting directors are seeing you and you would not have won one in the beginning of this process, much less more than one. Like you wouldn't have done that. And you're starting to understand like what the game really is. It's a mental, emotional game. It's like keeping your passion fervent, keeping your interest high so that you can enjoy it all the while you're pulling the lever on the slots.
Yeah.
Can I just tell you I'm loving your bilingual tapes?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Tell everyone about that.
I'm in Hong Kong now. I spent most of my life in Hong Kong. So I did a Cantonese self-tape. And in school, I learned Mandarin. So I did a Mandarin self-tape. And my mom speaks Toisan, which is a different dialect of Chinese. I haven't been brave enough to do a tape in that dialect yet.
Have your mom do it with you.
Oh, that would be so fun. Oh my gosh.
Have mom be your reader. I love it. Okay, good. Now, I have so much good news for you. So the first thing is I reached out to Ace Studios, and they want to give you a $50 credit for being so awesome to get a workshop going. I know, so great. Then Greg Saffel over at singinglessonslosangeles.com is giving you 4 free lessons to get started on your vocal journey. which I really want for you. I want you to work your vocal journey. Brad Greenquist at Brad's Class, who is a huge sponsor of this podcast, and I think you're going to love him so much. He is giving you 4 free classes or 2 privates for being such a badass. Then also we talked to Casting Networks, and they're giving you 1 free year of their premium membership.
Oh my God.
Which is super exciting. The people over at Castability love you so much. They want to give you also a 1-year free subscription to Castability.
Oh my God.
And right after your episode, the biggest thing that happened, which I think is so great, is an anonymous donor came forward and they have offered to pay for your SAG dues for you to join SAG. She's taking a moment. She's a moment.
I need more than a moment. I need a lot of moments. I really wasn't expecting all of that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to everyone that you just mentioned. Ace Studios, Greg Saffel, Brad, Casting Networks, Castability, Anonymous Donor, if I'm remembering all of them correctly. And that's obviously, Audrey, thank you so much. You've truly, truly changed my life. I've learned so much from you. You've inspired me so much. You've inspired an entire community that has inspired me so much. I mean, Self-Tape May isn't just fun because I love doing self-tapes, but I love watching everybody's work as well. I've learned so much from everyone that's a part of this community. And I went into this recording today just feeling really, really grateful. I mean, I hope this podcast resonates with the listeners because I'm just a listener. I mean, not to like belittle where I am or where anyone is, but like I was just a listener who really loved you and who learned so much from you and who really admired you and your work ethic. And you've completely flipped my career upside down in all of the greatest ways possible. And the fact that not only did I get to speak to you, but I got to speak to you twice. It's just such a dream. Like I remember when I first posted my first self-tape and you like shared it, like how you shared everyone else's. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, not to brag, but Audrey just shared my and like, look at where I am now. I feel so humbled by all of these gifts. I mean, what I love so much about acting and this industry, it's so collaborative, like, and you get to meet such amazing people. I wouldn't be here without the amazing people that I've leaned on when I've been like, I gotta quit. Like, this is too much. I have so many amazing, dear friends that we've like grown in this industry together. And to see people's generosity with their time and their resources and their finances is just like, I don't even know what to do with it. I want to hug everyone. I want to hug you. I'm still in like so much shock. I feel like I'm going to leave this call and be like, no. Like, I've been in quarantine for 5 days. Like, did I just hallucinate this meeting?
Well, you know, you've really inspired people. I mean, one of the things that, again, you don't have the perspective of yet. One thing that, you know, I think is so exciting about Self-Tape May is watching all the passion come through. I'm so moved watching people of all ages. I mean, we got like 7-year-old twins to like 75-year-old women in Michigan. And then we get people of all languages in all these countries. And we get all body types and all races and all genders. And, you know, as an actor, you're always sort of surrounded by people in your category. That's kind of how it goes. So, like, I see all the other versions of Audrey out there. And I love seeing these people who are so different from me and so different from each other, but the unbridled, joyous communion of passion for the work that comes through, that people give themselves permission to have through the challenge. I just like stay up at night scrolling through all the self-tapes and just looking at all of them and being so excited by this kind of actor and that person. And that woman's a grandma and she got her self-tape set up and she's doing, castability in Texas. She just like loves acting and she just wants to do it. And there is so much of the work that is and can be a grind and can feel like it's taking. And the reason why your journey is so inspiring to people is I remember one of my teachers came on and did an episode and he said, yeah, I mean, what did you do? Didn't you do like 4 tapes every week for like 2 years? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, I mean, who's going to do that? Like, no one's doing that. And I was like, yeah, no, nobody's going to do that. And people have seen what you've done and they know what it takes. It takes a lot of work in a lot of areas. It takes a lot of managing your time, your energy, your money, your heart, your relationships to prioritize something for so long and so consistently, and to let the process be whatever the process is. That every tape isn't going to be a 10 out of 10, and nor should it be. That you just get back up and get another one on tape and you do whatever on tape you can do. And that really is so inspiring and so heart fulfilling, not just to me and not just to the listeners, but the people that I mentioned here, they know this journey that you're on. The people who are wanting to celebrate you with these things, they know the journey you're on. They are on it or they've been on it. And this anonymous donor is just like so many people, just another little acting nerd. And they are at a level of success where it is truly their honor to pay forward to somebody that is nerding out on acting just as much as they do, and just in a different place in their career. And they understand what that fortitude takes and that it doesn't stop. So I just want to like celebrate you. I want to cheerlead you. I want to applaud you because your growth isn't just in acting. Your growth really is a full picture, 360 growth. And honestly, like one of the best things you said today is you're talking about your time away from your husband and that you're going to do this together. And that's a priority for you. I just think that that's so beautiful to know that, and then to move properly with confidence and ease in the knowing of a decision like that, and then move as you move. Go as you go. I'm so proud of you. And honestly, even if next week you woke up and you were like, Audrey, thank you so much for all of these things. I think I'm not going to be an actor. Or I think I'm just going to do acting in the summers as like a side hobby, whatever. I would still be so proud of you because you went in and you saw what it looks like. And I think it's completely beautiful to go in and see what it looks like and then go, you know what? I saw what it looks like. Nah. Like, I think that's just like a really tight tuxedo costume that you feel like doesn't fit. It's beautiful. I don't want you to get any of this and feel any pressure around it. You know, you don't have to then be like the judges save on Project Runway. It's NBD. This is just literally, I want you to think of it as different versions of bouquets of flowers to enjoy for as long as you can enjoy them and get as much out of them as you can get out of it, because you truly have accomplished something here. And the accomplishment isn't just your ability to put together a great tape and to get an agent and to get casting to notice you. The accomplishment goes much deeper than that. I'm just so proud of you.
Wow. Thank you so much. I'm so overwhelmed with everything. Thank you so much for being part of my journey. And to the people who reached out to me after listening to the episode and messaged me, thank you so much. I just love this community that you built. Just so many beautiful people. And I love that acting is a journey that you can't do by yourself. You have to do it with other people. I just feel like I found a really, really beautiful one. And I feel really, really lucky and really grateful for everything that you just shared. And I feel really happy and really excited. And it's just a really fantastic reminder that your bookings and your credits and your resume, like, they're not everything. There's so much joy in this pursuit outside of that you should be pursuing.
And not only are they not everything, but they're on the way. I just want to give you the exact same information that I gave Haley, because I know when I talked to Haley, she was like, okay. And Amber too. They were like, okay, I guess I am like where I am. It feels so embarrassing. And so few people work properly over time. And that is a sustainable factor. And when you work properly over time, you will see the returns on investment in terms of these bookings, in terms of these credits, in terms of better representation. And I just know that so completely. I'm just so 0% worried about you. And the thing that I'm 0% worried about you more than anything is because you just continue to bring about a very level-headed and mature perspective that comes in despite the demons of self-doubt and despite the demons of compare and despair, that you just are very good at logicking yourself out of that negative talk and realizing, like, okay, what is this? What are we doing? Is this only valuable if I get those things right now? And how sustainable is that? You're going to love Tom Choi's episode on Monday because we talk about this, because he's older than I am and he had like a year where he didn't book a single job. And then he's having the best career of his life during the pandemic. Like, can't stop, won't stop, just crushing it all. And we just talked about that. Like, we talk a lot about just like the ebbs and the flows of it. Just like you do 10 or something and then you win one, and then do a few more and then you win one, and they get really low scores and then you win one. It's like, it's art. It's not math.
Yeah.
And we can apply the math as much as we can apply it. And I believe that that's helpful. But then it's art.
Yeah.
But wait, Christina, you multilingual little badass. Wait, I have to interrupt you.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you shit you didn't know about your union.
This shit you don't know about your union is brought to you by Carla Zuniga at Carla Zuniga Hair on Instagram. That's Carla Zuniga at Carla Zuniga Hair on Instagram. Carla is a wizard of hair. Carla does my hair all the time. Carla does Jesse's hair. Carla does many of you beautiful listeners, men, women, curls, straight hair, everything in between. Check out her fantastic work. I couldn't recommend her more highly. She's outstanding. If you're looking for a great haircut in Los Angeles, Carla Zuniga Hair on Instagram. So for this shit you don't know about your union, I have my dear friends, Katie Von Till and Mike Nelson, who are amazing booking actors involved in the union, and they are going to tell you just a little bit about our landscape right now and some shit you don't know about your union. They are two of my most favorite people, so enjoy.
On a very special shit you don't know about your union. Oh, hey, Mike.
Hey, KBT.
Did you know that according to the National Institute of Mental Health, about 1 in 5 Americans are navigating some kind of mental health issue?
Yeah, I'm one of those 1 in 5 people. Yeah, that's a lot of people.
Me too. And I'm sure that the past few years haven't helped those numbers.
I imagine not.
The good news for us performers is that there are various mental health resources specifically available to our community.
That sounds great. Like what?
Well, for starters, did you know that SAG-AFTRA Health Insurance covers a wide range of mental health and substance abuse treatments?
Really? But help me out. What kind of concerns do they address? Because I just know, me, personally, I've been feeling a lot more anxious these days.
Me too. Well, look, treatment is available for everyday life challenges like anxiety, stress, and anger management, eating disorders, depression, all the way to the more serious mental health concerns. They've even partnered with a telemedicine company that lets us talk by video with a state-licensed therapist or board-certified psychiatrist when you or your family needs care.
Wow. That sounds really, really good.
It is.
However, what about those of us who don't have SAG-AFTRA health insurance right now?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked, because additional mental health resources may be available through the Actors Fund.
The Actors Fund?
Yeah. According to their website, any performing arts or entertainment professional may call the Actors Fund for mental health support, information, or referrals to community agencies.
That sounds like an incredible resource.
It really is. They even have supportive workshops, including music therapy, support groups for caregivers, mindfulness and meditation workshops.
Hot damn. How can folks find out if they qualify?
Okay, well, they should check out their website at actorsfund.org. That's actorsfund.org.
I'm on it. Thanks, KBT. I really think a lot of people could benefit from these resources.
Yeah, I think so too. None of us knows what we're each carrying inside. So remember, everyone, be kind to each other and be gentle with yourself.
It's been a lot, hasn't it?
It really has.
You want to hug it out?
Let's do it.
Ugh. That feels great.
Oh, so good.
You're the best.
You are.
I'm never letting go.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Okay, so last thing for the listeners, for people who are listening to the first time, what are some words that you have for them as newbie little listeners?
I think one of the things that I want people to take away from this episode, or like what I'm saying right now, is to like really believe in yourself and to like not beat yourself up over just like whatever ends up happening in life. I brought this up multiple times, but I was very, very, very depressed. Not even 6 months ago, like 4 months ago. And it was just miserable. And if I could like help anyone not feel that way, that would make me so happy, because parts of this industry can be so soul crushing. But like finding a community of people who, when you don't have the energy to believe in yourself, or you don't have the energy to like remind yourself that like it's okay, like just keep going, there will be people there to like pick you up. I literally have a group chat of friends where one of us can be like, hey guys, on the verge of a breakdown, anyone free for a FaceTime call? Like, and we all get it. And there will be times when I'm getting a lot of auditions and one person won't be. And we can remind each other about like the different phases. There will be times when like all of my friends are booking something and I have not gotten an audition in months. And it's just an ebb and flow. And like the patience of this career is what's like the most important, I think, because it really is a long haul. And if you find what's most important to you and your priorities, like what we talked about a lot in this episode, then you can find the joy in the art, and then that will pay off. It's funny how we like spiral in this like negativity, and then that doesn't help us in our career. It actually is really hindering us. And what we're so fixated on is what's actually bringing us down and like not bringing us further. But it takes a lot of time. And I think like just being really patient and like kind to yourself, as cliche as it sounds, like I did so many things to try to like get out of the funk of being so sad. I like did therapy, I did group therapy, I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that, I read this book. I did all of these things and I was still feeling that way. And the right things will sink in, the right things will make sense to you, and you can start to like get there. Oh, there's just so much joy to be found in this industry. And yeah, I hope everybody finds it.
I so agree. Well, let me just officially on the podcast, I want to thank you so much for coming on twice. I want to thank you for doing the challenge. And I am so excited for you. I'm not worried about you one bit. You are a smart motherfucker and one smart cookie. So I'm not worried about you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate it.
Next week on Audrey Helps Actors, nothing! Woo! We're on hiatus! Oh! Has this season almost ended my marriage? Maybe. Every year, it brings us a little closer to the brink of insanity. But it has been our honor. It has been our pleasure. And here's what I want. Here's what I just really want to say to everybody. I know that I am the face and the voice of this podcast. I want you to know 1,000,000,000% the real reason why this podcast exists is because of my incredible husband, Jesse Lumen. The hours that Jesse is putting into this podcast for free because he is so passionate about truth and transparency, and he has so much empathy and compassion and love for the artist and for the artist's journey. Give him some love, reach out to him, and just let him know how much you appreciate all of it. I, again, know that I'm the face and voice of it, but truly, truly, it's because of his kindness, talent, skill, and generosity that this podcast continues to keep going and be as fantastic and hopefully informative and engaging as it is. So thank you so much, honey.
Thank you.
Enough of that sappiness. Thanks to Christina Colgan. Christina, I love you. You're amazing. Thanks also to all the incredible people who gave a little something to Christina for her incredible, remarkable achievements. Thank you to Casting Networks, to Brad Greenquist, to Castability Actor for all the tokens, to Singing Lessons LosAngeles.com, to Ace Studios, and to the incredible anonymous donor. The editor of this episode said, "Methinks the anonymous donor is Audrey Moore." And I said, "Bish, please, no, the anonymous donor is not me, FYI. So I just want to take a moment to talk to the anonymous donor real quick. I know I've said this to you already, but I am so moved. I am so honored. I can't say enough how full my heart is for this beautiful act of generosity that you have bestowed upon Christina. I see you, so my heart swells with love. Thank you. Thanks to our editors this season, Taylor, who did this episode, as well as Austin, Anisha, and that husband of mine, Jesse Lumen. Also, special thanks to Thomas Hank Snodgrass, one of the finest gentlemen around, and also a fantastic sound editor. Thank you so much for all you've done. Sound editing, sound mixing, sound stuff, stuffy sound. You're awesome. Thanks, Thomas. And shout out this season to our fantastic Audrey Helps Actors, SAG-AFTRA informants extraordinaires, the one, the onlys, the two, the onlys, Katie Von Till and Mike Nelson, two of my favorite actors here in Los Angeles, and also actor advocates. They are so passionate about making sure that you are informed and empowered as a union working SAG-AFTRA actor. Thank you so much. Your service continues to inspire me. I am so grateful to you and the work that you do and your generosity and work in this podcast. Thank you again. Maybe I'll convince you to do it again next year. Thank you to Wes for the leaderboard. Thanks to all of our season guests and, of course, the whole community. This has been a really crazy year. Jesse and I lost a lot of family members this year. We have been pulling through, and we have remained vigilant to the success of this season, despite like a solid amount of grief-stricken, multiple dead dad tears. And it's because the life and the enthusiasm and the passion and the camaraderie is just so beautiful and so exciting. It's such an honor. It lights me up. It fires me up. I'm still so passionate and excited to illuminate and to encourage and to watch everyone win and struggle and come through, and really for the love of the work. And it has been such an honor watching you all love the work so deeply. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, and Jesse as well.
Thank you.
This episode was mixed and mastered by Thomas Snodgrass, produced by Jesse Lumen, still so handsome. This episode is edited by Taylor Martorana. Taylor, you're fantastic at what you do. Show music by Ari De Niro and theme song by Aalok Mehta and 108 Hill. All right, season 7, we're out. Don't forget your towel.